What's up, it's your boy Clinton K. Williams. I'm extremely happy to say I'm here with future NBA guard, Winthrop former guard, Jimmy Gavin. How you doing today, Jimmy?
Good, thanks for having me.
Jimmy, your story it's inspirational to a lot of people around the Mount Prospect, Arlington Heights area. And how does it feel to just be kind of that guy who inspires young kids to go for goals that seem so far-fetched?
Well, I mean, that's really a blessing, like if others can use your story to work towards their own dreams. And, you know, it's kind of just been a product of, there's been adversity thrown at me in my life, and just, I guess, the way that I've approached it, people have just kind of taken this idea that, like, well, if he can do it, then, you know, I can do it too.
Absolutely.
So.
And growing up in the Arlington Heights area, just like we are now, just like Cougars are looking at you, being influenced by you, who was kind of your, who kind of influenced you, what kind of influenced you when you were a sophomore at Prospect High School before the Crohn's disease and the story of Jimmy Gavin started?
Yeah, I mean, I think what shaped my basketball career the most was just like the failure, and just, not even the failure, just the disappointment of having the game taken away. That was probably the strongest motivating factor, because people always say, you know, the ball doesn't bounce forever, and it stopped bouncing for me at such a young age, so I thought I might not be able to get it back. And I think that was probably the number one biggest factor, just the fact that I had to take it from me.
And how tough was that, you know, just getting the game taken away from you at such a young age?
Yeah, I mean, it was extremely tough, you know. Something you don't really prepare for. Like, I had always assumed that I would play college basketball, and I had aspirations to play in the NBA. And, you know, when I got sick, it was just kind of like sudden, and then...
Let's rewind 7 years into the past. When you were diagnosed with Crohn's disease. First, can you just kind of explain to us what Crohn's disease is, and how it kind of affects the body?
Yeah, so Crohn's disease is an autoimmune disease.
Okay.
And your own immune system actually attacks your digestive system, kind of. And so my symptoms were really depressing to my body. So around the time I got diagnosed, I was about 5'3", 90 pounds, and I was getting sick on a daily basis. So I was just really weak and stuff like that, and it makes it difficult for your body to mature and grow.
When you say sick, it's just common, like things like the common cold,
throwing out, things like that. Yeah, it's not even like getting sick as much as your body is just getting sick nonstop.
But do you still feel like you'll be here today as Jimmy Gavin, potential NBA prospect? Do you feel like if it wasn't for the Crohn's disease, that would have driven you to this point?
It's hard to say, you know. It's hard to say because I think, you know, the things that happen to you, especially the toughest things, often shape who you are as a person. So would I have had like the mental strength to overcome everything I have if I hadn't dealt with those experiences? I don't know. You know, my life probably would be completely different. But I would say this, like, I wouldn't trade it for anything, because I think that, you know, the path I'm walking is the one that's meant for me. And I think that, you know, in a lot of ways that, you know, I feel like my purpose, even though this road has been kind of long and stuff like that, like you said, it's just, this is my path to walk, so I got to keep pushing. And
now, obviously, this season was your most successful season by far, especially at the Division I level. You started off with 26 points. That was season opener against Hampton. And then a week later, 38 points against North Carolina State. Games like that, such a high talent and level of playing, how did that kind of make you feel coming off of who you used to be in terms of the sickness and the kind of like what you said, no one really knew you, and after these games, people are starting to know you?
Yeah, I mean, I felt so prepared at that point. I didn't really get caught up in the moment of what it meant. I more so was just focused on, I just feel like, man, I put in more work or as much work as anybody, so when I take the court, why am I not going to be successful? You know, I don't care if I'm playing against the Lakers or if I'm playing D3 in Wisconsin or wherever. It's like when I take the court, I feel ready to go. You know what I mean?
And when do you really feel like you started getting that NBA attention that you've always dreamt of your entire life?
I think people, I mean, I still think I have a lot to prove, but I think that people, what I found is that people respect who I am as a person and how I've gone about my career, because nothing was handed to me. And a lot of people have been in the AAU scene and had success from like a young age. And so they're known commodities to the NBA and stuff like that. And since I came on the radar late, I would say just like the consistency in my performances and stuff like that, and then I was able to do like some pre-draft workouts with teams, and I tested well in the physical attributes, and I was able to have some show some good things on the court. So I think people started to take me a little more serious then.
Kind of like your Crohn's disease. I was reading an article about this, and it said this event also inspired you to work and meet your goals, which is the NBA after the Crohn's disease and everything. It was 2011. You went to Mississippi State for just a normal student at Mississippi State. Unfortunately, your brother Gavin dies of a car accident. You come back in 2011, and then to get your mind off of his death, you started playing basketball. Do you think this is what do you think that's what ignited you to start playing basketball again? And
I would say
everything in a combination.
Yeah, I would say. I mean, I withdrew from school that following fall.
Go to community college and.
I mean, I just withdrew just to get out, you know, and just give myself a break.
Yeah.
And when I took the break, I had always had a passion for basketball, and I think that when I started to allow myself some time to heal, I think that the passion was still there, and I just had to dust other things off that, you know, had hurt me. And obviously, losing my brother is, you know, a hole that'll never go away, and I would give up everything back to bring him back. But that's obviously not possible. That's not how life works. And so I just took on the attitude that the best way to honor him is to use my time, the time I have. It might be all I get, but I'm going to do so in a way that, you know, that would make him proud and, you know, keep his name alive.
And just about a month ago, you played in Orlando as a pro for the first time with the Orlando Magic. And just walking into that practice facility, you're finally a pro. You're finally playing with big names, with rookies that are going to do some great things in the NBA. How did that kind of make you feel?
I really just felt like I belonged there. Like everything just felt right to me. I was like,
you just told me a couple minutes ago there was zero fear.
Yeah, I mean, I had nothing to be afraid of because, like, I wasn't there by chance, you know. I really earned my opportunity, and that's how I felt. So it's like I didn't approach it any different. I wanted to earn the respect of the people around me, my peers, and obviously the front office and coaching staff by working hard and bringing, you know, positive energy and stuff like that. But it felt right, like, to be there, and I think it's because I've been, you know, dreaming of doing it for so long, and then to continue getting closer to my dreams, it just was a good feeling.
What are the toughest and best moments? What were the toughest and the best moments of Summer League?
I would say some of the toughest moments of Summer League is just having the patience. You know, part of being a professional is just to be prepared. You don't know when your number is going to be called. You don't know how much it will be called, but you need to be prepared regardless of the situation. So sometimes you might not play as much as you want to, and it's your job to stay invested into the team, to continue to have a positive attitude, to continue to invest in your game. And then just some of the highlights where we had a good group of guys. We were motivating each other because Summer League is about continuing to learn, grow as players. A lot of people aren't on guaranteed contracts yet, so you just got to continue to develop as a player and really take something out of each experience. So every time I've been, you know, fortunate enough to have an opportunity, I've always tried to take something with me that I can bring to the next one.
On a skill level, how were you able to compete with some of the top tier picks in the NBA draft?
Well, I feel like, you know, my skill set is, I feel like I definitely have a strong skill set to offer the NBA game. It's just going to be, you know, a matter of time, and in order to get, you know, a GM and a coach to believe in me. And I know, you know, I might have to prove myself by, you know, taking another route, whatever that may be. But, you know, taking an uncommon route is not, you know, unfamiliar to me.
And in terms of professionality, what are the main differences from jumping from the NCAA and making it into the NBA right now?
The main difference between the NBA and the NCAA, I mean, it's just the highest level of basketball. So it's the best players. Everyone was pretty much the best player at their high school, the best player at their college. And then you get all these guys who are used to being the best player, and then roles change. And you might have a different role than you did in college, and it's all about being able to try to do and have a niche and be able to help the team kind of, all those roles form together to make a really strong team. In terms of the actual game, it's still basketball. There's still like universal good basketball. You got to, pass, cut, move, defend. So I think the biggest things, there's some different terminology, there's some different schemes on defense, but the biggest thing is just continuing to work hard and then just show a team that you kind of have a niche and you kind of have a role. So that's important.
Because you've experienced the NBA life from the front views of everything, and what are some things that we kind of misconcept from watching it on the television set? We think that, okay, this is actually how it works, but it works completely different when you're actually in that huddle.
That's actually a good question, I think, because I think from afar, the NBA just looks like a show.
Yeah.
It looks like a show, and it's something, just this grand thing, on a stage, and it looks like the players aren't even human sometimes because everything is just like so crisp. Like the jerseys are cool, and there's so much money behind the contracts, but behind all of that, everyone is just a normal person first. Obviously, there's some of the most talented athletes in the world and stuff like that, but everyone is just a person, and they have things going on in their lives just like everybody else, and they've worked extremely hard to get there. Like, I think that's one of the things that people don't really understand, just how competitive the NBA is, because there's only like 450 jobs, and there's 7 billion people on the planet or something like that, and it's just such a small percentage.
And to finally wrap things up, what more going into the future? What can we expect of Winthrop guard Jimmy Gavin?
I would just say that, like, no matter where I'm at in the world, you can always expect me to just put my heart on the line every night and continue to grow as a player and a person. And, some of the things I'm most proud of is just, how I've carried myself through the whole thing, because, in the process I represent myself and I represent my family, and I think that, if anything, I've done a good job of remaining true to who I am and continuing to do the things that have gotten me here. And so I'm going to keep pushing. Like, you can expect that, I'm not going to be the type to give in, because that's just not how I'm made. And I'm going to keep pushing until I really, do get my foot in the door. And then from there, I just continue to grow as a player and a person. And, some of the things I'm most proud of is just, how I've carried myself through the whole thing, because, in the process I represent myself and I represent my family. And I think that, if anything, I've done a good job of remaining true to who I am and continuing to do the things that have gotten me here. And so I'm going to keep pushing. Like, you can expect that, I'm not going to be the type to give in, because that's just not how I'm made. And I'm going to keep pushing until I really, do get my foot in the door. And then from there, I just want to break it wide open.
And finally, just out of curiosity, last question. I know before this, you told me that you were working out. And what do your workouts entail of, and the hours you put into it and everything?
I've been grinding all summer just to, I think the best conditioned athlete often performs the best. So I do skill work, and I do lifting, conditioning, and yoga, meditation, like everything. There's all different types of factors, because you've got to train your mind, you have to train your body, and you have to make sure your spirit is strong, because there's so much adversity and stuff like that you'll encounter throughout a season, and there's a lot of uncertainty. Like so approaching pro basketball, there's a lot of moving parts, and I think it's important to keep a strong faith and then match that faith with good work ethic.
All right, thank you so much, Jimmy.
No
You're
problem.
truly an inspiration. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Nice to meet you.